हाय एवरीवन, मैं हूं नमिता सचदेवा। इस वक्त मैं हूं WWF इंडिया में। WWF India is one of the India's largest voluntary body in the field of conservation, and it aims at protecting the environment. I know you must be excited to know more about WWF India, so let's go inside and know the hidden facts about it. Come. Hi everyone. When your passion becomes your work, then challenges becomes opportunities. And so has happened with a person who is a true visionary, a man of his words, and I would call him an inspiration for many. Yes, from being a historian to a banker, and then the Secretary General and the Chief Executive Officer of India's largest conservation organization, that's WWF India. I'm talking about Mr. Ravi Singh, who is with us right now. So it gives me immense pleasure to welcome here you, sir. So sir, please tell us something about your journey, as we have seen that your career has taken some interesting twists and turns.
I've always had an abiding interest in nature since I was in school. And this continued and led to a great interest in reading and travel. I joined WWF India and each day has gone with great sense of responsibility and fulfillment. And we just don't know how the years have gone by.
That's wonderful to know about your journey more. As we all know, sir, that India has a natural tremendous wealth, if we talk about. So do you actually think that the government and people should pay more attention to this natural wealth in terms if we want to see our country to prosper economically too?
Sure, because the pillar for economic prosperity is human capital.
Definitely.
So human capital, talent, ability to get people to interact and to work together, that has always been a leadership position of my country in the world. I'm not saying there's a competition or a race, but we always seem to be creating individuals, leaders, who are then looked up by the rest of the world. Analyzed, understood, misunderstood, whatever, but we are always in the dialogue. Second aspect is that we should also ask certain questions like, why are we so populated as a country? One of the answers, not the only answers, one of the answers is that we are able to, our natural systems are able to produce nourishment and food, maybe not to the level completely desired all the time. But over the years, this land has given us that opportunity. Water, the quality of which is very important because it creates it's an essential element. And the quality of the air and the quality of basically the way of life.
Nice.
It's the prime reason with this that trade flourished and trade brought in international interest into India centuries on centuries. Yeah. So I would say, this is my request to you, is some of the messages that we need to have is, especially amongst the younger people, go out, see your country, go out on foot, travel by train. Of course, with safety after COVID-19 pandemic is under control. So try and understand this, try and understand the spirit, and try and understand the relational aspect, relate to my country. And you can do through these modes, understanding the environment, travel, reading. So this is what my interest is.
Very nice. Okay, so if I talk about WWF India, sir, we have seen that it covers a huge range of work. So many scientists, specialists and experts come together from across the globe, from various fields, to help humans live in harmony together with nature, I must say. Then from species, rivers, wetlands that you have talked about, and to the business sustainability, education and more. I would keenly want to know that your conscious decision about including both species protection to environment protection.
Environment is the larger subject. Environment covers all these issues.
Agreed.
Yeah, so there's no differentiator in that sense. I think the area that you're looking at is that on one side there's biodiversity protection that WWF has constantly looked at and has been doing, like wildlife protection. Our flagship program, which is the Tiger program, with which WWF is associated with from the very beginning of the Project Tiger. But with that come other things like water, which is one of our largest programs, freshwater, rivers, wetlands, forests. We have a program on marine. One of our oldest programs is education. So working into the curricula of nature, into the curricula of schools, the aspect of nature and conservation. You must also see that in our work, because we interact internationally with other organizations and in international workshops and meetings and with the government, India's standing as a nation when we talk about conservation, wildlife and environment is a completely different story. When one of us, I'm not saying WWF alone, but any person who represents that particular sector, from the Ministry of Environment, from our national bodies like WII and SECON and others, and the organizations that work in this area, when we stand up and talk about something that's happening, everybody listens because India's voice in that is leadership. It's not just another voice. And we have proven it. We have proven it by announcing a certain way of life, a certain way that we'll take on for conservation. Project Tiger, elephants, rhinoceros, dolphins, lions. And when you look back and see where they were at one particular time, and we would have lost some of these. And we brought them back because of conservation impact.
So, sir, if we talk about WWF India more, we have seen that in the last 50 years, it has it took dedicated efforts in terms of conservation of environment and species. So what do you consider amongst the proudest moments of WWF India so far?
So it's actually the success, I would say, is the stitching together of all this continuous and positive work over the years.
So if we talk about the Earth Hour campaign, we have seen that it has been joined by millions of people across the globe faithfully every year, and it's been tremendous for WWF India also. So I would like to know that according to you, why is it important now and how it can make the difference on ground?
So what happens is that each year, a large number of people participate who have not participated previous years. So you've got to ask, why has that change happened? Yeah. The change has happened because people thought that maybe through this action, which is voluntary and does not affect non-essential institutions or establishments, by adopting this kind of thing, we are actually symbolically conveying a message that we will work for the planet. We will assume a supporting status for the planet. We, by this voluntary act, will act against the negative effects of climate change. And that we will, at least in India, because it's such an important aspect of philosophy, that it means to some extent consume wisely, consume less, save your resources, and try to be an example to others. So again, it's voluntary, it's positive action, and this has been so for many years. In India, I think, if I last 3 or 4 such events, we have been leaders in the number of people who participated globally.
So I must say, sir, that your experience in history and your expertise in conservation makes an incredible combination, first of all. So would you like to tell us how history of conservation can teach us about the future of it?
I'm going to take you to a period which is very difficult for you to understand.
Okay, but I would love to understand, sir.
So in the Vindhyas, for instance, we come across quite often paintings of animals that are no longer here, or no longer in the area. Vindhyas there's a painting of a rhino. There are no rhinos in the Vindhyas. There are paintings of giraffes. and ostriches, which are no longer in our country. Okay? And scientists have now started thinking as to why is it at that point of time, a certain period of time, all these paintings came up and later on disappeared or went into other forms. There is a theory at that period of time that because of volcanic action, it was not always, people gathered indoors more than was their natural habit. It's just a theory, it could be wrong.
Okay.
And when they spent more time internally, they needed halls to sit, and they needed symbols, and they needed places to sit. And they started this, or made this art of rock shelter painting flourish. In a rock shelter painting in Madhya Pradesh, in the Satpuras, there is it's actually an entire manual painted, like how you could use the roots of a tree and ropes to create a mountaineering ladder, because the bees still use that as a shelter. This was to collect bee honey from the wall, and using the ropes to be tied to the roots of the tree which is embedded in the rock. So you can actually see that this is somebody who's drawn a manual for future, so they could use this technology to be able to do that. Now this means there's a great evolution in your mind to be able to take this to the other. And this is what history teaches you, right? That there will be a progression. If it's a constructive progression, then we all progress like that.
So I would have never imagined that I would get to know these interesting facts about history in such an interesting way from you. Thank you so much for being with us in the conversation. It's one such wonderful, lovely chat with you. Thank you so much.